What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Rantin Review Pro Wrestling, and we're catching up with some news in our news break today. Got a lot of stuff about money and contracts and behind the scenes things, so this is going to be unfortunately, this is going to be not about anything involving wrestling shows, but stuff that's going on behind the scenes. But before we get into that, speaking of things like money and things like that, you can check out the nice, wonderful, beautiful links down in the description box below. There's some links down there where you can get free crypto from Coinbase. Bitcoin's hitting another all-time high, so if this is usually when people get in on it, even though you should probably get in on it before this, but whatever. If you're interested, you can get some free crypto from the Coinbase link down below, Robinhood and Webull as well. If you want to get into stocks, things are going up and down all the time now. So if you want to get in on it, get your finances straight, check that out. On to the news and the rumors, and yeah, the Vince McMahon thing, we knew since it broke that it's not going to go away, and it's disgusting crap that, we're going to talk about because, it's a pretty big story and we cover wrestling. But the latest drama is that the four names that were kind of redacted in the original complaint and just known as Corporate Officer 1, Corporate Officer 2, etc., those names have been released now. And it's, as we thought, they are pretty significant names and names that wrestling fans who don't pay attention to the news or the law that much know themselves. The corporate officer number 1 was identified as current WWE president Nick Khan, who is the visionary who has gotten WWE all of these billion-dollar deals with Saudi Arabia and Fox Sports and so on and so forth, and now with Netflix. Before I get too far into this, it is important that I stress that none of the four people being mentioned here are accused of participating in any kind of assault against the young lady who alleges that Vince McMahon assaulted her and trafficked her. And I'm putting that in slowly and as precisely and clearly as I can, because you're dealing with law and legal stuff here and people taking stuff and going the wrong way with it. So there are no allegations that any of these people participated in the thing. The allegations are, and why this may be a problem for WWE, is that the culture of their corporation enabled this and knew what was going on. As far as Nick Khan's influence, there is, they're alleging that he knew about it. Again, remember, they had to pay NDAs and out to these women, and some speculation has been that company funds were used for that. And given that, given the prior position of Nick Khan in WWE, it gets really, really dicey, and it gets really, really dicey when you talk about this stuff. But there's allegations that he knew. There's one part of it where Janel Grant, who is the plaintiff here, assumes or says that Nick Khan approached her one time or talked to her when she first met him, and he just looked at her, and before she said anything, he's like, "I know who you are." So, yeah. Number 2 is Brad Blum, who's currently the chief operating officer of WWE, and a lot of what's going on with that is that Grant was assigned in the legal division, I'll put it that way, paid a starting salary of $75,000, but then in a year was promoted to a $200,000 job, and then was going to be promoted again. And that's very rare and highly, you've got to be like Clarence Thomas' second coming to come in off the street and in 1 year, and in 2 years be offered a director job that was supposed to be a vice president job, and then guaranteed that, eventually you'll get the vice president. That is some legalese right there. But the problem here is that, again, the legal people acted differently around her. They were usually laughing, but when she would come into the room, everybody would go quiet, and Blum was mean to her. And I'll read from the article here that's up on the street right now. Blum was also accused of flagging to McMahon that rumors about his relationship with Grant were circulating around the company. So, again, kind of dicey here. It's not, again, it's so much about them participating in the assault or anything like that, but that they knew that something inappropriate was happening, and everybody kind of understood that what was going on. We'll get to a little bit more of that later. The third officer mentioned, and this is the one that a lot of wrestling fans are pointing to, is Stephanie McMahon. Now, Stephanie, honestly, reading this, she's not even in this a lot if you're looking for corporate officer number 3, but the allegation is that she was aware. And she was aware that there was a relationship. Again, wrestling fans will try to run with that too, because as has a lot of people been asking, if Stephanie knew, then Triple H, who is currently the corporate face of WWE right now, and he is the chief creative officer, people are going to just say, how would he not know? If his wife knew about his father-in-law, how would he not know? Now, nobody's alleging that Triple H knew anything right now in the lawsuit. Plenty of it's happening online. I would say I would be very careful with that, and I wouldn't jump to any conclusions for a couple of reasons. The first primary reason, you don't know. The second reason is that people are thinking, well, they're family, they should know, but we all have family members that hide really dirty, dark secrets from the rest of the family. They are probably the first people you don't want to know about it. So it is not a guarantee that Stephanie knew how deep and dark this was, and that Triple H knew how deep and dark this was. That's going to be very hard to prove unless they have some sort of evidence that she actually knew the nature of things. But again, just knowing about the relationship and the fact that it's alleged that corporate funds were used, which means it has to go through the board members. It's got to go through the executives. They have to know where, tens of millions of dollars are going in their company. They all knew what it was. That's the complaint here. The fourth one is somebody named Brian Nurse, who I've never heard of before, but they were in the legal department. Nurse is being accused of discussing a role with Grant in the legal department and later offering her the job after being ordered by McMahon to give her the job. Now, the problem with that is that the role did not exist. There was no need for the role. So they just invented a job for her just to have a job. And again, the idea is that everybody around knew what was going on. And again, like I said, I'm going to come back to this. None of these people are accused of assaulting Grant. What this part about it is WWE's culpability in this whole thing, if it turns out to be true. And if it turns out to be true that people in the company knew about it, approved hush money for it, and covered up for it. That's the big thing. It's all about the cover up when it comes to these 4 people who are still, I don't think Nurse is with WWE anymore, and neither is Stephanie, but Khan is and Blum. So it's about whether or not there was a cover up and these people may still be with the company. That's the big issue with that. And again, the story is going to keep going on. We'll if anything significant comes up, I'll bring it up. I'm not going to harp on it too much though, because you guys know when I talk about wrestling, I'd rather not talk about this stuff. But unfortunately, that's what this news break is about. And going on to more uncomfortable stories behind the scenes, WWE's not the only one. AEW's got an issue. Kevin Kelly, as you probably have heard by now, and it still hasn't been officially confirmed, but it's been reported and pretty much everybody kind of assumes it's true. Kevin Kelly's been fired from AEW, which is amazing because AEW doesn't fire anybody. You can punch and get into a fight and a brawl with the EVPs of the company. You can be an EVP and get in fights with your employees. You can start fights with 5 different people and make really weird, creepy sexual slurs about a person who's going to be in a company apparently tomorrow. That's interesting too. Sammy Guevara. You can do all of these things and not be fired from AEW. However, Kevin Kelly, and not that I'm not saying right now that I'm backing Kevin Kelly, although I met Kevin Kelly a couple times. Seems like a nice guy. He's from my area, roundabouts. And of course, he was the voice of New Japan in the States for that golden period that we came out of in the 2010s. Some of the best matches of all time now have Kevin Kelly calling them. So, yeah, Kevin Kelly's a talented broadcaster, but when it came to AEW, people didn't like what he was doing. Apparently, Tony Khan wasn't a big fan, which is why Tony Schiavone wound up doing the play-by-play on Collision, a lot of people allege. But the real thing is with Riccaboni, who is the color commentator, or the play-by-play guy, I should say, for Ring of Honor, who was supposed to be doing Collision, and they wanted him for Collision originally. He has done some Collisions, but he didn't want to do it because he's got a real 9-to-5 job, and he doesn't want to spend his weekends traveling. He wants to be with his family, understandable. And, you know, unless they're going to pay him a buttload of money, he's not going to do it. So he is the one that suggested Kevin Kelly get the job. They gave Kevin Kelly the job. Kevin Kelly left New Japan. He was part of that exodus too. We all kind of forget that like with Will Ospreay and Tama Tonga and Kazuchika Okada and Jay White, Kevin Kelly was one of those key talents from the Western side of New Japan's expansion that went over to AEW. Apparently, Riccaboni has had some less than nice things to say about Kevin Kelly's broadcasting abilities, and Tony Khan apparently agrees. And then there's this thing which I do find I think this is kind of BS if it's true. Part of the reason is also because Kevin Kelly said some things about the movie The Sound of Freedom, which has allegedly some QAnon. I'm not getting into all of that stuff. I know a few things about QAnon, and you know, it is what it. I mean, I don't care. I saw The Sound of Freedom too. It's a pretty good, damn good movie. It's a heartbreaking movie. It's a movie about something that I can't even mention on this video, and with footage from the real things, because it's a real thing that happened. So I'm not sure what the problem is with all of that. But again, that's something I kind of don't want to dive into because of the nature of what that movie was about. It was hard for me to even watch that movie, even though I think it was an experience to watch that movie, and it was very deep. It's also a world I don't really want to get into. You know what I mean? And whatever QAnon is, if that's associated with this, I don't want to go there. You know what I mean? Maybe I have to someday, because ignorance sometimes can kill you. But anyway. That being beside the case, Kevin Kelly apparently, advocated for the movie. I would advocate for the movie too. I think it's a good movie, and I think it's an important topic. But that's apparently supposed to be part of it, and then he made mention of this all on Twitter. So Bryan Danielson, looking at Twitter, along with stuff that Max Caster has been writing lately. Yeah, poor Bryan Danielson. I don't know how he became the social media czar of All Elite Wrestling, but this is part of the thing that he does. And they looked at these tweets from Kevin Kelly, and he wound up losing his job. Again, I would say this is kind of BS, especially if it's BS. If he got fired because he liked The Sound of Freedom, that's kind of bull. If he got fired because they didn't think he was doing a good job on Collision, which is debatable. I mean, that's a subjective thing. If the boss doesn't like the work you're doing, they're going to fire you, and they're totally within their rights to do it. Hopefully that is the case, but it's really kind of weird that firing this company, again, as we all know, doesn't let anybody go. They don't fire anybody. We figured you literally have to like run over Tony Khan's foot with a car and then call him a B word or whatever, and then drive that car, knock over the Dynamite stage live on television, pull your pants down, and take a crap on the stage. It would have to be something that severe for you to get fired from All Elite Wrestling, yet Kevin Kelly managed to do it. That is fascinating. So whatever is going to happen with Kevin Kelly, I don't know. His job is no longer available in New Japan. They have a nice young guy who's doing a pretty damn good job over there doing it right now. I assume at some point in time we'll probably see him covering maybe some big events in New Japan. There's no reason not to bring him in for Dominion or bring him in for Wrestle Kingdom or the G1 or whatever. But that's the case with that whole thing. I just think it's really weird. But I also can understand why they would let him go if he was causing a problem in the company like that. The other thing with AEW in business is people flipping out about how much money Kazuchika Okada is getting being with the company. Reportedly, Okada's contract with All Elite Wrestling is for about $4.5 million a year for 3 years, which is north of $13.5 million. That is some big money. That's some big business. I'm wondering what Mercedes is getting if she is coming to the company tomorrow. Now, obviously, the people who hate All Elite Wrestling and hate Tony Khan are laughing at him and, you overpaid. Why would you do this for some Japanese guy who can't cut a promo? Blah. We all know that stuff. We're putting that stuff in the toilet where it belongs. We're going to talk about the people who actually give a crap about this and what this is significant for. It is a huge payday. And in fact, WWE is only paying a handful of its tippity top stars more money than this to give you an approximation how much this is. You're talking Randy Orton, Rock, Roman, Brock Lesnar, John Cena, or like the few people in WWE who are getting more there than what Okada is getting in AEW. So there's something to be said there. Now, again, people who are AEW fans and pro wrestling fans who have some concern, it's like it's overpaying. You have to remember that this is a startup. And I've seen this on social media a lot from people who don't know what they're talking about. The majority of companies, the big companies that you see, operate at a loss for quite a number of years. Amazon, Jeff Bezos was famously, back when Amazon was really taking off, it was, revealed that they were bleeding money, and Bezos' thing was, hey, build the thing first, we'll make the money later. I think that's kind of the approach that Tony Khan is kind of taking here. It's like, build it up first, the money will come after we build it up, but we got to invest in it. That's what I think the approach is and why it's an investment. Now, whether that investment will pay dividends in the long term, 5, 10, 15 years down the road, that's what he's banking on as far as this. The whole business plan of AEW is not, hey, we're going to be the number one wrestling company and put WWE out of business two years from now. I don't think that's ever been the business plan. And anybody who thinks that should be the business plan or has to be the business plan and that wasn't, then what's the point? Like, touch grass or something, read a book, learn something. I don't know what to tell those people. Anyway, the other side I would say of this too is that if they're also looking to expand and they're looking to do some big shows, like AEW can bring a big show to Japan with Kazuchika Okada. This is something that, I thought that WWE might try to capitalize on with Shinsuke Nakamura, that they did do some of this when Nakamura first got there, is they had some pretty well-attended shows in Japan, which is not WWE territory. Those fans are totally different in the kind of wrestling that they like, but they were able to pack some houses by bringing Shinsuke back to Japan a couple years ago with WWE, but I'm surprised they never try to have a big tentpole event. They may now with Hunter, given the way Triple H thinks about the wrestling world and he wants to take the whole damn thing over, but that is something I thought that they would do. If AEW is saying, hey, we'll do a co-branded show with New Japan, but we're going to have our own one. It's not going to be part of Wrestle Kingdom. We're going to have an AEW, maybe for Forbidden Door, takes place in Japan in next year or the year after that. They might even think about doing it this year for all we know. But that is kind of the part of the investment I'm thinking about, is that you may get something like that down the road. Plus, Okada, he's still a relatively young guy, and he's got a lot in him. He's got a lot of charisma. He's got more charisma than I thought he was. Just seeing how he's emoting in AEW TV already, I thought that was going to be a problem. And then I saw him on there. I'm like, nah, he knows exactly the way to look, how to look at the camera, how to pose. He knows all of that. The dude's never been in Full Sail University, but he seems to know all that stuff already. So we'll see what happens and whether or not this investment from Tony Khan on the Rainmaker will pay off 5-10 years down the road. But I want to know what you guys think about this. Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. What do you think about what Tony Khan is paying Kazuchika Okada? Is it too much? Is it just right? Maybe you think it's too little. What do you think about what's going on with Kevin Kelly being a rare person to get fired from AEW over reasons that are maybe plausible or may not be plausible? Who knows? And again, be careful what you say about the Vince McMahon stuff. We did find out the names of the 4 executives named in the suit, but again, this is all accusation. It has not been proven in court yet. Don't get yourself sued. So I will talk to you guys later as we will cover more about wrestling big businesses this week in AEW, and we've got some more confrontations with Cody as we're heading down the end of his hero's journey in WWE onto WrestleMania XL to face Roman Reigns for the WWE Championship. More about that as we get closer to WWE WrestleMania. Until then, I'll see you guys later. Have a good day.